Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Accelerator with Michael Conniff. We're a podcast devoted to entrepreneurs and startups and founders, and we also try to be of use and interest to VCs and angels, family offices, investment firms. You can find us on all the major platforms. Feel free to give us a good review on Apple Podcasts, for example, but we're on over 10 of them and also on YouTube. And we would love you to subscribe to YouTube as well. I'm at Michael Conniff on Twitter, AMichaelConniff. My website is michaelconniff.com. And today I am really excited to be joined by a very distinguished associate professor at Karolinska Institutet in Stockholm, Sweden, named Torkel Falkenberg. Welcome, Torkel. How are you?
Wow, Michael, thank you so much. I'm very fine. You know, we have summertime in Sweden and it's almost daylight despite the fact that we have nighttime. I'm fantastic. Thank you.
Right. It's got to be a good day in Sweden where it gets dark a lot.
Because, you know, during the winter time, it's dark all the time. So that's why Swedes are wild now.
Okay, so what you have to do is pick up your computer and put it out the window so we can see the Karolinska Institute is literally over your shoulder. Yeah. Look at that amazing sky and that amazing light and that amazing building.
Yeah.
In my last podcast, I had someone do that, and over their shoulder they had the Indian Ocean in Africa, in Tanzania. Wow. So this may become a regular feature of our podcast. It's kind of cool. But you and I are connected at the hip, though we haven't met yet, by something that is visible over your right-hand shoulder in our YouTube video. It is Uniplat, known as a technology transfer platform. The full name is Unify Platform. It's also based in Zug, Switzerland,
yep.
and also at your institute, isn't it? And I'm going to let you describe Uniplat because it's a fascinating concept. I'm a part of it as an advisor as well. I feel lucky to be able to talk to people like you who are much smarter than me about these things. So tell us what Uniplat is and what we can hope from it.
Right. So do you want me, maybe if I start how I came into Uniplat, it will give you a bigger flavor on the relevance of Uniplat and why it is so important for global health. So if I take you through my background a little bit before announcing or telling you what Uniplat is that okay with you, Michael?
Absolutely. Fire away.
So, you know, I had my Ph.D. at Karolinska Institutet almost 30 years ago in neuropsychopharmacology. So I did brain research, what most people here at Karolinska Institutet do. And you know, Karolinska is awarding the Nobel Prize in medicine. So it's a very prestigious place to be in. But I felt at that time, you know, I was more geared toward global health. And the fantastic thing with the PhD at Karolinska was that I was on the plane to Vietnam just 2 weeks after my dissertation. So since 1995, I've been working with low-income countries, with middle-income countries' problems, trying to aid health sector, contribute to health sector reform. So much of the work I've done in Southeast Asia, in Vietnam, in Thailand, and in Laos, etc. I worked in Bosnia after the war to rebuild the healthcare system after the devastating war on the Balkans. I worked at the World Bank in Washington as a long-term consultant, you know, trying to understand how can you wisely use lended money, credits, for rebuilding health. And in doing that, I became also very interested, especially in working in poor countries, about ancient medicines, you know, traditional medicine, and the role traditional medicine might have in modern standard healthcare. Doing that, I also started to work a lot for the World Health Organization. I'm one of the authors of the global strategy for traditional medicine for the WHO. Now, so I'm just saying this, you know, to also underline the fact that working in low and middle income countries, you see the unfairness of research. You see how hard it is for researchers and entrepreneurs in Africa, in Latin America, in Asia, etc., to become on par with my research colleagues at Karolinska Institutet. How can they make it? How can they make the research they are doing? How can they announce it? How can they share it? That has been a major problem. That, Michael, leads to brain drain to a large extent because clever researchers around the world in these countries, they think, we cannot make it here. We need to move to the US or to Sweden or somewhere else and contribute that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I started to work with Dr. Takashita Karita for almost 20 years, and we had some projects together, and then I was contacted by him for, let's say, maybe 6 years ago now, and we have developed then some very interesting project, and then we started to discuss Uniplat. And since I've been involved with the reform work at Karolinska Institutet also, because we have been very much geared towards the Nobel Prize, but we have reformed the whole of Karolinska to be devoted to health for all and the sustainable developmental goals. So that type of change that I've contributed to since I am a participant of the board of Karolinska Institutet, that have put the UN sustainable developmental goals in a focus for Karolinska. And much of the world now, even the private for-profit sector, are trying to understand how can we contribute to the SDGs. Now, Uniplat now gives an opportunity for researchers, irrespective of which country they come from, to share their research, to share their dreams and their visions at Uniplat. And we are asking them to relate to the sustainable developmental goals. So by that, Uniplat is, for the first time ever, Michael, it's a platform where researchers and entrepreneurs across the globe can participate on an equal basis with their visions and missions and research and give that and share that with others. That's predominantly, the whole idea of this type of sharing community. And they're sharing it because they believe that we need to work and fight for a better world. And here the sustainable developmental goals is the very foundation of that kind of thinking. Sorry for that long monologue, but I just wanted to put the Uniplat in context.
I appreciate that. And Taka-san, I pronounce it Takahisa Karita, might be the American pronunciation, but he's a powerhouse. He's a force of nature. He has this ability to get you to want to help him. that's the genius. And I think he's a C-level executive at least 3 or 4 companies. I don't know how he does it. I'm not sure how much sleep he gets, but an amazing guy. Now, what's interesting is Uniplat already is getting some traction, isn't it?
Wow. So you see, again, then, just mentioning and giving Taka some credit in this, the fact that he works with both his heart and mind in a good balance, that's what we need from investors and from entrepreneurs and from business people, Sure. Do your job with the profits and everything, but take your responsibility, or even better, align your heart with that intention or profitability, and you make a better world, because that's the kind of business leaders we need. So if we can just provide a platform where that heartfulness and that type of integrative thinking for a better planet is possible, I think Taka Karita is a type of he's a type of role model for that type of thinking. And I think, Michael, that is the key to his success, because you don't get burned out if you are aligned with your whole being in what you're doing. You can then be sustainable in another way, which gives you life quality. And when you have life quality in your life, it's irrespective of how rich you are, you have longevity and a better, healthier life, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Very articulate. Now, in terms of Uniplat proper, what are we seeing in terms of how people are using it and how many people are using it?
And you see, I was going to say that, in the beginning, I thought this was not possible. But today, after this has been in place for, half a year or so, we have more than 65,000 members from more than 94 countries. And we have something called a facilitator account where we give companies and NGOs and multilateral organizations an entry into Uniplat. So they can now not use Uniplat to share some of their advances, their thinking, their personnel, their staff contributions using Uniplat. So it has moved beyond being a single individual chipping in to also accommodate larger enterprises and their interests. That's so amazing. So it is something like more than 15 staff working with this from Germany, Switzerland, Japan, Korea, China, Sweden, and we have brilliant minds that help us with remarkable stuff. It's translated into a number of different languages simultaneous. You can broadcast live videos, you can upload other videos, you can put your documents there, you can message. And what I think is unique with it, it's that we give each participant member a type of credit ranking. So, using a type of artificial intelligence, uh, depending on how active you are and how much people like what you are doing, what kind of things, the quality you put into it, merges into a type of credit rating for everyone participating. And based on that, we also allow now for donations and for something called throw money, where you can support individuals in their own research. So let's say, Michael, you like something going on in South Africa. You think that research or that team there is doing some fantastic work with HIV/AIDS or something. Then you can choose to support that type of research. So we are allowing individuals and organizations to come into real life research by immediate action. And that will also result in the credit rating we're talking about, so that you can get credibility into that type of thinking. And while I'm on it, so that means that some entrepreneurs might be scared to put up their inventions on Uniplat, but we have created something called pre-intellectual property rights. So we are protecting them with a certificate which is built on type of blockchain smart technology. Don't ask me what that is, but anyway, that is protecting them. So this is a type of hub now, Uniplat, for invention and big jumps into the future, which I think I've never seen before. So I'm so excited to be part of it. And most of all, that this is a heartfelt thing aiming for improving health for all, for this planet, aligned with the sustainable developmental goals of the United Nations. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great combination. Now, I notice over your shoulder another company, Shigeru,
Yeah,
which is Taka-san is also a part of, and that
correct.
is a technology transfer company. Is that right? Now, could you explain for us and for me how a technology transfer company works, and also how it will play into Uniplat moving forward? How that kind of works together.
Wow, Michael, I would just do guesswork there. That is a question to Taka-san. I think he would answer that much better than I can do.
Okay, fair enough. So, when I wanted to ask you a little bit about your story because it's so interesting. I was really
Yeah.
struck when you spoke about going to work in less prosperous, less developed countries.
Yeah.
And what I'm interested in is what was the impulse after your PhD that sort of led you down that road? I mean, you could have done the exact opposite, right? So what was it that sent you in that direction?
Well, thank you for asking that question. I did, really interesting brain science research. I was investigating how memory and learning is functioning and trying to understand how the hippocampus is working in the brain with relevance for Alzheimer's disease and neurodegenerative diseases. And that is something Karolinska Institutet, is so famous for. But let me tell you that for me personally, working in that type of laboratory, animal experiment models, day out, day in, I felt I didn't feel well doing it. And secondly, I felt, that I proved in my PhD thesis actually that the environment that you're in is so vital for your neuronal plasticity. The way your brain is like a forest moving all the time. And if you have a good environment, Michael, that neuronal sprouting is enhanced in a positive way. So I met with Professor Eric Kandel at Columbia University. We discussed various projects, but I realized that when I knew that your environment is vital for your health, so to say, I thought it would be a much better investment for me in my life to work where environments are impoverished. So it was a type of ethical decision to work in that way. But just to tell you what is so remarkable, I'm sitting here now at the former Department of Pharmacology, which is the Karolinska Institutet Science Park. That is where Uniplat is having its research hub. And I'm sitting in my previous room 30 years ago when I did my PhD thesis.
No, wait
So
a minute. How is
I
that
know.
possible? That's
I know.
impossible.
So you see, Karolinska converted this Department of
Yeah.
Pharmacology to Karolinska Institutet Science Park. And when I was building office here, they asked me to pick a room. And I said, my God, this is my old room.
That's
So,
fantastic.
so what I do for Shigeru is also we are working with some very exciting, uh, you know, kind of traditional medicine pharmaceuticals for Alzheimer's disease.
Oh,
So I thought I was leaving the field, but I'm definitely also back on that track,
wow.
working from this same room. So I don't know what happened, but it's
That is,
fantastic to be
that
part
is
of these things.
that is karma, and I guess that's what we would call going full circle, coming
Yeah,
full circle, and a great place to be on a day when the sun never sets. That
I know.
feels somehow somehow appropriate. It must be hard to get to sleep though when the sun's still out.
Yeah, but
Um,
I'll tell you, you don't forget the darkness we Swedes are in. Then we are not as happy. Okay.
right, right. Um, so talk about, or let's discuss for a second, because I hate asking people to talk about. I like asking people questions. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So paint a picture for us, if you could, um, as to what is it like being a researcher, say a good researcher, a smart researcher,
Yeah.
in a country that just does not support that. In other words,
Yeah.
what's sort of the pre-Uniplat scenario for somebody like that, super talented, maybe just born in the wrong place, right? What's
Yeah.
that like for that person?
You see, it's so devastating. They might then been lucky enough to invested their time in a university that they managed to come to, and then not having the ability or very very impoverished abilities to do laboratory work or to do uh, other types of work. But let me also not paint a too bad picture, because I think increasingly some of my colleagues in South Africa, for example, despite the fact they come from that types of environments, they are so creative and they're doing fantastic research. But the problem is mainly, I think, sometimes to share it, to
Yeah.
because most high income countries dominate the scientific arena. All the congresses, all the meetings are done by white people, if you like. And to get into that and to get into bibliometric and into high impact scientific journals, it costs a lot to publish, and you're not getting the visibility, and you might be stigmatized by the fact that it's an African country or it's a Korean publication or whatever you like. There might be some prejudice around the reviewers, even, I think, in worst case scenarios.
Mm.
So it is really a maze to come through in order to showcase what you have been doing. And then at the same time, you need to find financing for your position in order to safeguard the work you're doing. So juggling all these different challenges at the same time, there might be, hardship at your home, and then at the same time trying to pursue a scientific career and not reaching out. That's such a frustration, which motivates those talented people to apply for scholarships somewhere else in Europe or in the US, and go there, and with a high likelihood of not going back home
Mm.
knowing what this is. And here is Uniplat having at least the intention to flip that and to let the bottom up perspective get a fair playground at Uniplat. So that's a good thing, I think.
That's pretty great. Let me sketch out for you a vision that I have of what Uniplat could
Yeah.
become, and I want you to kind of
Mhm.
critique it and tell me where I'm off or maybe where I'm on. But my
Yeah.
thinking is that in a level playing field like you've described, in which
Yeah.
researchers have incentives, both professional and financial, to be on the platform. In a perfect world, we would also have, I think, venture capitalists, angels. We would have accelerators on the platform. In fact, I spoke to an accelerator in New York last week.
Yeah.
It's a deep tech accelerator that likes to be there right at the beginning. And I told the person about Uniplat, and he said that is exactly what we're looking for. That is
Yeah.
perfect. We need to find companies right at the get go. And so in my vision of it, there's a wonderful opportunity to make it borderless, make it democratic's probably not the right word, but make it kind of a meritocracy,
Yeah.
a meritocracy in which your color of your skin, your gender, your country is not the most important thing, and also a place where everybody has the same access.
Yeah.
So, is that vision anywhere like the vision you have, and how is yours different?
That's it, Michael. That's definitely the vision we're on, and that is giving the opportunity, irrespective of where you are, of getting financing because of the very idea you showcase is worth it. It doesn't
Mm.
matter where you are. So this is something crossing borders. It's breaking down the borders and opening up this on a global scale, and then again reminding us that some of the fantastic high-tech stuff which is presented now at Uniplat, since high-tech development and inventions are so well positioned to take playground, they are already at Uniplat. So I agree with your angels that you have on your side, that Uniplat is a good way to search for them. And then suddenly the world is open, and they can find them in Laos, PDR, for example. They can
Mm.
find them in Bolivia. They can find them wherever they are, because
Mhm.
Uniplat lets all of those good ideas surface on a global scale. I don't know how you could otherwise do it, but suddenly this type of kind of democratic level, even level play field is coming up, and maybe, Michael, this is also why the group of nations is acknowledging the vitality of Uniplat, and we are joining the group of nations. So if you look at all the logos of group of nations who are interested in what we're doing in Uniplat, it's astonishing. So it's a good, for people that wants to get on board from the beginning, they should jump on now, because it's an exponential increase of members right now. And maybe one day we need to find some way of regulating that so it doesn't go totally wild. But I don't know, it might go wild, and that is just good.
We call that a problem we'd like to have, right?
Yeah, that's
And
it.
I just wanted to clarify. So, Group of Nations is the convening authority for the Group of Seven. I think the group, whatever the number is, the Group of 20, it convenes. And Uniplat has a page on their site, so access kind of to their footprint, which is
Yeah.
certainly helpful. So, what sort of final
Mike,
question?
can you put a link to Uniplat somewhere in your
Yes, in
podcast?
fact, I
So,
wanted to say
because
it's uniplat.social, right?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
the place to find out, and to sign up to be a facilitator, which we would love you to do.
yeah,
Both Torkel and I would really love that. Um, and to get in there and to start to vote, you can start to vote on things. You can start to see all these great inventors and innovators from around the world, especially less developed countries. And
yeah,
it's really a great opportunity. And I wanted to ask you about already an entrepreneur inventor has kind of emerged, Mark Hugh, who's also an
yeah,
advisor to
yeah,
Uniplat,
yeah,
but he is somebody who I think Takasan identified very early on,
yeah,
pioneering. He's doing a lot of things. I don't want to mischaracterize it, but in the metaverse, pioneering also user interfaces, um, all kinds of things. Looking at a screen and having it know what you want is kind of one of the things he
yeah.
told me about. So,
So weird.
is he an example of kind of some of the creativity we might start to see from the platform?
Yeah, definitely. And since you are well presenting that area of high tech development R&D that is just moving into Uniplat with a high speed, let me say that I also hope for NGOs to prosper from Uniplat and take their part. And I think we have some interesting NGOs being wanting to come into us and be part of it. So I foresee also that, for example, the World Health Organization will understand the contribution of Uniplat. And since we
Mm.
have the same vision of the Sustainable Developmental Goals, this is something that can, rapidly can potentially make a change to some of the global health problems we see in poorer countries. So I hope
Yes.
for.
As the saying goes, from your lips to God's ears. That's a wonderful sentiment.
Yeah.
Um, this is the Accelerator with Michael Conniff. We're a podcast for startups, founders, entrepreneurs, angels, VCs, family offices, investment firms, and we've been joined today by Torkel Falkenberg. He's associate professor at the Karolinska Institute and obviously a pioneer in healthcare around the world, particularly in less developed countries. He is a key advisor and a longtime friend of Takahisa Kurita, who is one of the driving forces behind Uniplat. You can go to Uniplat Social, uniplat.social, which is what we want you to do. Sign up as a facilitator, and get your feet wet, get your hands dirty, see what's going on there. It's one of those things, like any platform, like any network, it will get better and better.
Yeah.
As more people join, as more
Yeah.
people participate. So it's pretty exciting. I have to scratch myself sometimes when I think that I'm involved in it, because it's such a great thing, and I just feel lucky that I got asked to help. So, Torko, I want to thank you for being with us. It's great to have you, and this is the beginning of a long conversation.
Beautiful, Michael. And thank you for everything that you're doing. I'm so glad to have you on board also.
Oh,
Thanks a lot.
it's an honor. Thank you. That's it for the Accelerator. We'll be back before you know it with another podcast.